Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Dharma Helber and this is DH Reviews. This is my Season 1 Episode 19 review of Gotham. If you missed any of my other Gotham reviews, again there will be links in the description on the screen and stuff, and you can click those and they'll take you to all of the reviews that I've done so far. With that being said, I recognize that I've missed a few episodes, so before we review Episode 19, I'm just going to go over very briefly my thoughts on the episodes that I missed. That'd be the Red Hood episode, the Blind Fortune Teller episode with the circus, and the episode Everybody has a Cobblepot. So in order, let's go in no particular order. Excuse me. The Red Hood episode was an excellent example of an origin story episode that hit all the right notes about the mythology behind the Red Hood. It covered a lot of the bases in terms of, the Red Hood gang and how they operated, and one kind of iteration of the Red Hood story, which has a little bit to deal with the Joker and some stuff to deal with Batman and Jason Todd and Gotham City, and the history behind Gotham City as a whole. In the comic books, there are several iterations of not only Joker's past, but the Red Hood's past, and one of the iterations of that Red Hood mythology is that the Red Hood gang was led by the guy in the Red Hood, and whoever happened to be wearing the Red Hood at the time was the leader of the gang. And another iteration was that this gang basically put somebody up to being the Red Hood so that if they got caught by the police, the Red Hood would take the fall, and that guy ended up being the Joker, and that's one of the Joker's sort of pasts and origins. And so the point that I'm driving home here and trying to get at is that the episode hit a lot of those marks in terms of understanding the source material and presenting a clear origin story, and just being an excellent sort of example of what Gotham is as a whole, is that origin story. On the flip side of that, the episode The Blind Fortune Teller was a terrible example of an origin story episode. It was probably the worst episode of the season. The stuff with the Graysons, that was okay. But the way they marketed the episode was as a Joker episode. They had those commercials with the blood that was a smile, and they had, him laughing and all this stuff. And number one, you guys know I don't want to see the Joker in the series. You guys, we've talked about that. We agree on that for the most part. And the tongue-in-cheek sort of hints at the Joker I found were okay, but this. It was billed as the Joker, it was delivered as the Joker, but it wasn't good. And if you're going to promise us the Joker, it has to be good. And this guy, Jerome, who was supposed to be the Joker, he didn't come off as the Joker, if that makes sense. He didn't come off as the sort of person to be capable of the stuff that you would associate with the Joker. For most of the episode, he was this timid little boy, and then for about 5 seconds, in an episode that was billed as the Joker episode, he put on a stupid grin, and he laughed. He didn't do anything that was indicative of the Joker's origins or the Joker's sort of deep character. He killed his mother, which is, we can get into all of the reasons why that's cliche and another sort of butchering of this episode, but we've got a lot to cover in this video, so I will just leave it at that. I thought the episode was very poorly done and not well advertised, and they did not do a very good job of delivering on that episode. And again, the worst episode, hands down, bar none, by far, of the season. And Everybody Has a Cobblepot, that episode was alright for what it was, which was setting the stakes and setting the stage for this next sort of arc of 4 episodes. And in terms of, what's going on with the GCPD, what's going on with Gordon, what's going on with Loeb, and setting the stage in that regard and continuing to put the pieces in place for these last 4 episodes. So everybody has a Cobblepot, decent episode. I thought it was really interesting, again, how Penguin is starting to collect on a lot of those favors and starting to get a little bit more of a working relationship with Jim. And hopefully that plays out in these next 4 episodes. With all that out of the way, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this video. And let's review Season 1, Episode 19, Beasts of Prey. In this episode, it picks off in Jim's fight for the GCPD and his fight for Gotham when he's been appointed president of the police union after, dipping his toes once again into the dirt and the grime of Gotham City and basically blackmailing Loeb into making him the president of the policemen's union. And the consequences of that are apparent immediately in the episode and after the episode. Because Jim is given the case of the serial killer named the Ogre and tricked into investigating it. And the consequence of that is going to be that the Ogre goes after the loved ones of anyone that's investigated. Anyone that's investigating him. And so that's basically the story of the episode on Jim's side. The story of the episode, and most of the episode actually, is focused on Fish and her escape from the Dollmaker's island. And I think that that sort of storyline with Fish and everything like that was wrapped up really well in this episode. She gets out of the island. She's got her friends and that one guy that's going to replace Butch. And it really showed that she's not going to give up. And so that's kind of the story for this episode. Mostly the Fish stuff, and then more of the GCPD stuff, and introducing the Ogre for this last couple of episodes. So with the story stuff out of the way, let's talk about the characters, and let's start with Fish, because as I said, this was mostly a Fish episode. And in this episode, Fish makes her grand escape. She gets her posse together, and she leaves the Dollmaker's Island on the helicopter to go off and continue her plans for revenge. And Fish is in an interesting spot. On the one hand, she's got a lot of loyal new friends, and in particular, that one guy who's, as I've been saying, going to be replacing Butch and coming up against Butch, I feel like, in the future. And she's got a lot of things going for her, in that she is now presumed dead or missing or out of action. So she's in the position that Penguin was in the beginning of the season. And that's an interesting sort of twist and turn of the tables here. On the one hand, we have Penguin, who's accumulating power and exercising that power, and then now Fish has fallen from grace, and she's in the shadows, and she's got her team together. So how she handles that is going to be interesting for me to take a look at and for me to see as we wrap the season up here. If I had to take a guess, I would say that she would do a lot of what Penguin did when he was presumed dead and missing and all this stuff. Quietly influence things, marshal her forces, get her power back, get her power base back, get money, get guns, and then go to war next season. I think for the rest of the season, she's out. I don't see a way that she can influence events with as little resources as she has and as little manpower as she has. She has a great, loyal following, but remember, these guys are, for the most part, bits and pieces after what the Dollmaker did to them. And so she's dealing with a lot of people who are either sick or crippled or missing kidneys and lungs and all this stuff. And that's going to be her biggest detriment. And that's why I think that she's going to sort of lay low and let Maroni and Falcone and Penguin peck at each other and take each other down a couple of notches before she can move in on that level. As they're building each other down, she's going to be building herself up, and eventually they're going to meet, or she's going to be on the level where they can compete again. And so that's Fish for the episode. Overall, I was really impressed with Fish, in particular in this episode, and how careful she was and how calculating she was. And I think this is Fish's best episode. And I'm interested to see where she goes. Again, I don't think she's going to go too far the rest of the season. But next season, she's in a very good position. And there will be a next season, if I haven't already talked about that. They renewed it, as far as I know, they renewed it. Renewed Gotham. So that's Fish out of the way. Let's talk about Penguin now. Penguin in this episode is throwing his weight around, helping this lady get her daughter back from this sort of sleazebag boyfriend or whatever the case may be, where this nice Italian lady who owns a bar doesn't want her daughter dating this dude for whatever reason. So they make a deal, and Penguin pretty much throws his weight around and convinces this guy to dump this girl and gets the bar owner to sell him the bar. And he spent the whole episode doing that. And he finally reveals at the end of the episode that the reason he wants this bar is because he's going to try and kill Maroni there. And for me, the thing with Penguin right now is that he's got the power. He's in a very strong position. He's a strong contender in the Gotham underworld. He's not really at odds with Falcone, and he can help Falcone, and for that reason, I think Falcone is going to leave him alone. And he's at odds with Maroni, but he's really in much better shape than Maroni. And the thing that gets me is that I think he's biting off more than he can chew. I think he's getting a little power hungry, a little drunk on power, and is making things way, way, way more complicated than they have to be. He's getting involved in these sort of convoluted, contrived revenge scheme where, he has to kill Maroni here at the bar at this exact time and in this exact way. And me, if it were me, I would just put a bullet in a dude's head. Don't worry about dressing it up or explaining your plan. That sort of thing where Bond villains have to kind of explain their plan to James Bond before they kill him. Don't do that. Don't get wrapped up in everything like that. Just kill the guy and move on and get it over with. I think that's going to be probably, if anything, his downfall in his fight against Maroni, is that Maroni doesn't care about dressing things up. When he had the opportunity to kill Penguin, he didn't make many bones about it. He just kind of said, "Look, Penguin, you're going to get in that car. It's going to crush you. No big deal. You're going to die. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. You're going to die. Bam, bam, boom." He put him in the car. He tried to kill him. It didn't work out. But he didn't dress it up. He just said, you're going to get in that car. I'm going to put you in the car. It's going to crush you. You're going to die. Penguin is going to dress this up, and he's going to slip up, and he's going to get confused, and he's going to get wrapped up in his own sort of schemes, and that's going to make give Maroni that opportunity he needs to just punch him in the face or shoot him in the face or whatever the case may be and get out of there. And I think that's going to be Penguin's downfall, is his unwillingness to just do the deed. And that's Penguin for the episode. Let's finish up here, and let's start talking about Gordon, Jim Gordon. As I said, he's the president of the Policemen's Union now, and he's investigating the Ogre. And when he finds out that the Ogre goes after the people that are investigating him, that's when he sort of snaps and stops messing around with dipping his toes in the dirt of Gotham City. He jumps head first, and he pretty much threatens the police commissioner and says, "You crossed the line, and Now the gloves are off, and now whatever happens, happens. I'm coming after you. And this is what I've been waiting for all season. To see Jim Gordon really start to understand that the only way to fix Gotham City is to get dirty and to do the necessary evils. This is great stuff, and I think it's going to be an interesting finale of these next few episodes to see exactly how far he's going to go to protect the people that he cares about, because he has now people that he very much cares about in Harvey, in Leslie, and in that other, what's her name? You know, the blonde woman. But he has people that he cares about is the point. And now, what is he going to do to protect them? What evil is he willing to do? He's already made deals with Penguin and stuff like that. But that was before it put anybody he cared about at risk. I think that kind of covers Gordon in the episode is, you know, what is he going to do now? And what lines is he going to cross? And that's as much as I can think about to talk about for Gordon. I will mention, though, that I don't think that his family, his friends, are at risk as much. If you go back and you look at the episode, at the bar, when Harvey gives that bar lady his card, she kind of gets this weird look and sort of suspicious look. So I think that's how the ogre knows to investigate, to go after the people that are investigating him, is he's got her tipping him off. And so I think Harvey is more at risk than Jim is, but we'll see. Wrapping up and finishing up characters discussion, let's talk very briefly about Bruce. And in this episode, the big thing with Bruce is he's going after the people that went after Alfred in the previous episode and stabbed Alfred. Reginald Payne, he tracks Reginald Payne down to a shooting gallery, which I recognized immediately as slang, but apparently Bruce was sheltered enough and he didn't recognize that was slang for a crack den, which I guess is a good thing. But the interesting thing about Bruce in this episode is his dynamic with Kat continues to grow. The two of them are close friends, and Kat helps him track down Reginald and actually does push Reginald out of the window after they get the information, because she sees that Bruce is thinking about it, and so she does it and pushes him out of the window. And I think that was more to save Bruce from having to make that decision than anything else. I don't think she wanted to kill him out of, just wanting to kill him. I think she wanted to kill him, number one, to save Bruce from making that decision, because she sees Bruce as somebody who is innocent and untouched by the dirt and the grime of Gotham City, and then to save Bruce from getting ratted out, or to stop Reginald from telling the people at Wayne Enterprises about Bruce and their investigation. And so that was kind of cool to see those two interact, and again to see the different morality between the two of them. And that kind of does it for character reviews. Overall thoughts on the episode: solid episode. Really great leap into the last few episodes of the season. Parting thoughts: I enjoyed the ogre as a villain. I think, number one, the most important thing I think is going to be interesting is that if they play this right, this finally gives Barbara something to do. The ogre's sort of targets are these beautiful women who are vulnerable and who are taken in by his sort of suave looks and his lavish sort of lifestyle, and Barbara fits that mold perfectly. So that gives him something to do, gives her something to do, and it gives the ogre an excuse to go after somebody who is close to Jim. And so if that happens, that'll be interesting. I won't think any less of Barbara, but I probably won't think any more of Barbara. But we'll see what happens. If they give her something interesting to do, and if she takes it in an interesting direction, it could rescue that character for the season. And it would definitely, force Jim to start making some difficult decisions, not only about what he's willing to do in terms of the police and in terms of the ogre, but in who he decides to hitch his wagon to, Lee or Barbara. And I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. So thank you guys for watching. Later this week, I'm going to do another Gotham review, and I'm going to review the first season of Netflix's Marvel's Daredevil. I'm going to go over very briefly the first season of that show and my thoughts on that. So look out for those two videos later this week. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, leave a comment, and let me know what you thought about everything, and let me know what you're looking forward to for Gotham. Comment, like, subscribe. All of those things help me out a great deal, and they make it possible for me to continue doing these videos. So if you want to go ahead and share these videos as well, share them on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, wherever you got to get the video out. Follow me on Twitter. We can talk about the episodes. I'm at the DH Reviews. All that information is in the description. With all of that being said, guys, thanks very much for your patience and for your support. I'm glad I can continue to do these videos, and hopefully I'll do more of them. I apologize for the lack of videos, and I've missed some series and stuff like that. But I thought maybe I bit off more than I can chew, and it would be better to focus in on one or two series. And so that's kind of what I'm going to do moving forward, is just focus on one or two series and review them semi-regularly. So with all that being said, guys, I've been Dharma Helper, this has been DH Reviews, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, stay tuned.